Okie dokie. We have quite a few topics to discuss about. Quite a few topics to
Pulling out
discuss
of
about.
next year's Eurovision Song Contest.
So, I think it's appropriate to start with the one that I have probably the most to say, which is going to be the Eurovision debacle. So, there's 4 countries at the moment that's boycotting the Eurovision 2026. Israel, Slovenia, Spain, and the Netherlands. Me and my friends challenged the group to a game of football. We were trashing them, but afterwards we found out the team was imaginary. So Ireland, Netherlands, Slovenia, and Spain are gonna boycott Eurovision, which is, in my opinion, a really good thing, because we want to be consistent who gets to go into the Eurovision. Yo, what's up? Nothing much, just starting the stream, talking about what's happening around the world. So, a few years ago, Russia was banned. Are you a small content creator? I assume so, yeah. We all gave up drugs after that. Playing football while you're on the influence of drugs is probably kind of interesting. I played football when I was drunk, and seeing multiple balls on the field is kind of wild. So a few years ago, Russia was banned from Eurovision and from FIFA World Cup, from the Ice Hockey World Cup, and all of the other like international events because of their attack and war against Ukraine, the war crimes and human rights violations, which was the right call. So Russia was kind of banned from all international platforms. And I understand and empathize with the Netherlands, Spain, Slovenia, and Ireland at the moment, because it doesn't make sense and it is hypocritical to allow Israel to participate in Eurovision, considering they are doing as much as Russia is doing in Ukraine, in Gaza, and in Palestine. So if we want to be consistent, and if EBU wants to be consistent, Israel shouldn't be allowed to participate in Eurovision until the conflict is resolved. That's just my opinion, and apparently it's the broadcasting networks of these 4 countries also aligning with that. It's nothing to do with the people of Israel. It has nothing to do with the religion of Israel. It has all the things to do with being consistent with the rules and abiding the same sort of values that the song contest has and has implemented with Russia in the past. Makes sense, right? It's not that hot of a take. I think that's common sense. No. Optimus Prime.
At least 4 countries have announced they are pulling out of next year's Eurovision Song Contest after organizers decided to allow Israel to compete. The participating broadcasters from the Netherlands, Spain, Ireland, and Slovenia each withdrew from the song contest after the European Broadcasting Union held its twice-yearly
Adopt me, daddy.
General Assembly. The countries called for Israel to be excluded over alleged interference in voting and its conduct in the war on Gaza.
Well, what I'm pleased is the membership have had a full opportunity to debate it, and I can tell you it was a full, frank, honest, and quite moving debate. But as we can see from the emphatic result, what they really came together on is a belief that Eurovision Song Contest...
Is that a no on adopting you? Unfortunately, I already have like 2 children. I can't take any more. Maybe when my kids grow up a bit, we can have more, but not at the moment, though. And frankly, we don't have the space for that. Would love to, though. I have a shed on the backyard, if that helps. You can set like house there.
Shouldn't be used as a political theatre. It must retain some sense of neutrality.
The EBU voted to adopt tougher...
I mean, you don't make your shots unless you shoot them, you know? I don't even remember that. That was a quote from some sports figure somewhere. I think banjo players are gay. I don't think all banjo players are gay. Are you one of them Democrats, fam? No. I actually had a conversation about this like a few streams back, because even though the Republicans want to label Democrats as left, but if you go by European standards, Democrats would still be on the right. Not as much right as Republicans would be, but they wouldn't be on the left side of the political spectrum. They are lefter than Republicans. But yeah, I wouldn't vote for Democrats either. There's some horrible people running the Democratic Party. There are really good individuals in Democrats and there are really good individuals in Republicans. But I wouldn't vote for a specific party because the party leaders are horrible on both sides. The Republican Party leaders are just pure dog shit, and the Democratic Party leaders are complete dog shit. So I wouldn't vote either side. You convinced me, I take it back. I mean, I guess some banjo players could be gay. Not saying all of them are. Like, of course, like every profession and every musical instrument probably has their fair share of them. Would be wild if no banjo players were gay, you know? There's bound to be at least a few. Does playing banjo make you gay? I don't think so. Well, it's not that I don't think so. I know so. Like, it doesn't work like that. You don't become gay by playing banjo. So you can start playing banjo if you want to, if you're afraid to become gay. Because it doesn't happen like that. You know, you don't just become gay. You might be onto something. Banjo is a funny instrument, though. I play banjo. And, well, I play guitar. So, of course, I've tried all sorts of string instruments like sitars and banjos and mandolins and balalaika, which is a traditional Russian instrument. I've tried a lot of those. So, yeah, banjo is interesting. I kind of like the sound that a banjo makes. It's not the easiest instrument to play. I would say, like, banjo, this might be a hot take coming from a guitar player, but I would say making banjo sound beautiful is way harder than making a guitar sound beautiful. So in that sense, playing banjo is technically more difficult than playing guitar. I'm a guitar player. This is coming from a guitar player. So I think banjo is more difficult to play than guitar, 100%. But the easiest is bass, so.
Voting rules in response to the allegations that Israel manipulated the vote in favor.
When it comes to the voting situation in Eurovision, I have a first-hand experience in the past Eurovision of some tomfoolery, their word. And during the Eurovision contest, I had colleagues who were based in the Hebrew locale. We were all working here in Ireland, but they were managing the Hebrew locale. And they were former IDF soldiers, both of them. And they told me, I don't know about this, but they had a group chat here locally that they were told that if they max out the voting amount and send the bill to Israel, they will get their money back. And again, I'm not saying this is 100% true, but considering that they're now hunkering down on the rules of voting based on the tomfoolery that happened, for example, we know that the government of Israel pumped a lot of money in advertisement, which is against the rules of Eurovision. So what my colleagues told me didn't really sound that out of this world. I can't say for 100% sure that that is true, but that is what they told me, and they were former IDF soldiers. Well, technically they were still active IDF soldiers, but because they weren't based in Israel anymore, like they were still getting their pension from them. They should be banned for the rule breaking. I think so. Well, there's a few reasons why they should be banned. One is the rule breaking. 100% the rule breaking is, of course, if you break the rules, you get banned. The other thing is, well, you know, the war crimes and the crimes against humanity. That's kind of a given. Like, we shouldn't give a political platform, even though the song contest should be neutral. But if you look back at all of their songs that they performed, they are all political. To the point that they needed to edit it. It wasn't last year, but it was the year before. But because it was too blatantly political. You know? So, of course, some might argue that the song that Ukraine had in 2023 that they won was political. 100% it was. And I don't think the song contest should be completely free of politics, because as a musician and also a person who's enjoyed music from various different genres, music should be political. Music has always been political. So a song contest about different countries and their cultures and music shouldn't be completely free of politics. Like, let's take Rage Against the Machine. I kind of like the anarchist ideology that they had in the 90s. Of course, they kind of sold out in the 2000s, but like, that's just one. Megadeth has always been political. Even Ozzy Osbourne has been political. Like everything, like Beatles, everything. Pink Floyd. It's not one of my all-time favorite bands, but I've listened to Pink Floyd and I've read about Pink Floyd and I've watched a lot of documentaries and a lot of interviews from like Roger Waters and David Gilmour, and they were heavily into politics. And of course, we can see it from the Wall, and we can see cut political, but there's a lot more. Also, a lot of those 70s, 60s, 80s bands were super political. And I do enjoy that. I do enjoy listening to that. Of course, there's some like songs that aren't political, like what would be a good example? Simple Man, for example, from Lynyrd Skynyrd. There's nothing political about that. It is a good song, though. Some might argue that it's just a ode or a romanticized love song to the blue-collar working man, which it might be. And then again, that would make it political. Let's go back to Eurovision. We're kind of getting sidetracked. The contest, whose 70th edition is scheduled for Vienna in May, pits acts from dozens of nations against one another from the continent's musical crown. Well, to be fair, we have Australia and we have Israel here, so it's not Europe anymore. So we have countries outside of Europe, which is I'm not against that. I think it's fine. Like Canada, USA, whoever wants to join, just fucking come on. I think it should be more like it's a song contest called Eurovision based in Europe, but all countries around the world could participate. I would love that more than to only include European countries. But of course, there's a set of rules you need to follow, and if you break those rules, you're not eligible to participate. Spain and Netherlands, Slovenia and Ireland has announced that they're not gonna participate next year. And it's because the EBU, the organizer, decided to allow Israel to participate. What up, nothing footage? The announcement came after the European Broadcasting Union, EBU, the body that runs Eurovision, met to discuss concerns about Israel's participation, which is opposed by some countries due to its conduct on the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, which is 100% something that I raise my eyebrows as well. Like, why are they still allowed to be participating? Because Ukraine isn't, Russia isn't allowed to participate. Russia shouldn't be allowed to participate, but so shouldn't Israel as well. Ask away, nothing footage. Dutch broadcaster Avrotros said that the participation of Israel is no longer compatible with the responsibility we bear as a public broadcaster. And I do, again, agree with that. What do you think is perfect? About what? What do you think is perfect? I think the workings of the universities, not university, the universe is perfect. We don't understand it completely yet, but how the universe works, it is a perfect, like, synchronized, well-oiled machine that works without anyone's interference. And I think universe in that sense could be considered to be perfect. My wife, yeah, that's also, yeah. True. My daughters are perfect as well. I'm not a perfect human being. No. My wife is perfect and also my daughters are perfect. I'm not perfect. That's a pretty broad question. Humans are not perfect. The Earth isn't perfect. There's flaws in the planet that we're living also as well. But I do think that in the bigger cosmos, universe is as close to perfect as you can get. I think nothing is perfect. Is there a thing called nothing? That's still something that scholars and scientists are pondered about. It's the same thing as presence. Like the moment now. Because that's something that's really hard to measure. So it's the same thing would go like, is there a thing called nothing? Because again, I want to take this back to the universe. There is always something somewhere. There is not a inch or a centimeter or a millimeter or a nanometer in space that isn't occupied by something. So technically, there is not a thing called nothing. There's always something. I know this is a really deep topic on a Saturday, but if we want to nitpick and if we want to talk about semantics, technically nothing doesn't exist, which would make it nothing. But because nothing is something, then nothing doesn't exist, and instead there is something. Mind blown. Then again, I would like to think that there's a void that has literally nothing in it. But we don't know. We don't know. If, for example, can a black hole shrink a thing to nothingness? And if it shrinks the thing to nothingness, what happens to the thing? If I throw this pen into a black hole, does it stop being a pen, but turns into something else? So technically there's nothing there, but there's something there. Nothing is occupied by something. The pen becomes nothing, but at the same time it becomes something. Well, but yes, nothing is perfect. It has no shape, time doesn't affect it, gravity doesn't. But nothing is a human-made word, concept. There's always something, you know? So that's why I want to challenge this a bit. Because nothing has no shape doesn't mean there's nothing there. Time affects everything, even black holes. You can't escape time. Also, gravity affects everything, right? I'm pretty sure. Even black holes are affected by their own gravity. But it is a good conversation, though. So, culture connects, but not at any cost. What happens last year touches our boundaries. Universal values like humanity and free press have been seriously violated, are non-negotiable for us. The independence and unifying nature of the Eurovision Song Contest can no longer be taken for granted, said the Dutch broadcast. Well, broadcaster can in Eurovision 2026, says RTVE's Secretary General Alfonso Morales during the EBU's General Assembly. So before the universe existed, what was? We don't know. There's always been something. Because if you... Okay, I'm not probably the most educated person talking about the nitty-gritty details of the universe, but the universe has always expanded and retracted. So what we consider to be the singular point when the universe started doesn't mean that there wasn't anything before that. I feel like you're the right person to ask, then don't talk about what you don't know about. Hey, BM, shut the fuck up. Let me speculate. Shut your mouth and listen. So, because what I do know is that the universe is expanding exponentially all the time in every direction. But what we have discovered is the universe has not always expanded, it has retracted. So we can also make the conclusion that the universe is like a harmonica. Like, you know, it's retracting and extracting. And the singular point that we're talking about, that is the starting point of our universe, the Big Bang. It would be intellectually lazy to say that there was nothing before it, because nothing creates a Big Bang like that. So what scientists are thinking that happened before was that retraction, and that's the reason why we are now expanding again. You sound like a 13-year-old stoner. You know fuck all. Wikipedia knows more of this clown. Hey BM, you sound like a really angry person. Did your mommy tell you to go to sleep already? So if you're not old enough to have a conversation, you need to go to sleep. Sorry. Okay, then let's say that there was something before the creation of our universe. What was before the start of our reality? We get it. You saw a 30-minute YouTube video. I didn't see a 30-minute YouTube video. I'm old enough to have read about these things, and also the evolution of what we think happened before the start of our universe. I wouldn't call creation of our universe, because creation would mean that some entity created our universe, and that is not true. Wash your hair, hippie. It's actually quite freshly washed. So, with your RGB lens. Hey BM, I understand that you're really angry and you're jealous of my hair because you're probably balding already, that you're 13. And that's okay. Just chill the fuck down. It's Saturday. Where are your books? We live in the 2025. I don't need to have my books presented here. You know? I don't know in what era do you live. So, just calm the fuck down. ChatGPT told you. No. No. It was your mom. You want your mom back. Like, I can tell your mom to come home already. She's getting dressed in the other room. So. But I do love your enthusiasm to like rage on a random chat in YouTube. That is just next level, like, stupidity. I think there was nothing. But yeah, I like, at the moment, nothing footage. At the moment, saying that there was nothing is as correct as saying that there was something. Because we don't know. For certain. And once we gather information about it, more and more, then we know for certain. But at the moment, like, if we're talking about scientific definitions, because we don't know, we can't make assumptions. So you saying that there was nothing there is as correct as somebody else said that there was something there. Before the universe was like, the universe began. So that's why this conversation is really freaking good, especially if you have a few drinks and you have your mates there and all of you are just like having a conversation about this this topic. This is one of my favorite topics to just talk, because there is not a right answer. We will probably never know. I think so. Like, it depends on so many things. Like, I do want to believe that technology has the capability at some point, giving us at least an estimation what was, if there was anything. But because like, what we have already figured out is the extraction, the expansion and subtraction of the universe. So that's why a lot of like astronomers and scientists believe that that's the cause of the Big Bang, is like that wave-like effect, and that's why everything is going away from each other at a humongous speed that is still hard to concept. But I do feel I do love this conversation. I like, and also I want to emphasize, I'm not an astronomer, but I have spent way too much time reading about different theories, because I want to be able to have these conversations. And I try to explain to my 9-year-old daughter about how universe is expanding everywhere all the time. And it is really hard to explain. Because if you think about it, there is no size limit. There, like, literally every single part of the universe is expanding in every single direction. How do you make that make sense for a 9-year-old? It's impossible. It's the same thing as like, how are the space stations traveling so fast around the world so they don't float away from the space to outer space? Because they need to travel the Earth the same amount of speed that the Earth is revolving. And how are people walking outside? So, like, well, that's easier because there's no wind resistance, and like, it's easier to explain that than the universe expanding. And also, it is a smaller topic though. That's why, for example, when they find those anomalies around the universe, like for example the two black holes colliding, and it create a new ripple that was off sync from the universe's own ripple. Like, things like that is just mind-blowing. Wait, so if there was nothing before the start of our reality, then how could we prove it? Now we're on to something. That is something that people smarter than you and me need to figure out. Oh, well, don't mean to undermine you. You might be studying this thing, and you might be like the future astronomer that breaks through this. You might, I don't know, because I don't know you. So you might be the one that actually finds the answer. But that is something that we're still, well, not we, but like us as humans are still trying to figure out. How can we prove that there's nothing? I think the easiest comparison would be Schrodinger's cat. And it's a really simplistic version of like the impossible situation to prove that something is or isn't at the same time. I think Schrodinger's cat would be the closest, and that's just like making it way simpler than it actually is. It's like, if there's nothing there, how can we show evidence that there's nothing there? Because if we show evidence there's nothing there, there's all of a sudden there's something there. And that those two can't coexist. There's either something there or nothing there. And if there's nothing there, there's something there, and if there's something there, there's nothing there. Like, it's a paradox.